Now we have about half of the households in America are headed by female breadwinners. We have 1 in 5 hungry kids in America. And when we look at equal pay, we see the highest educated women have the biggest pay gap with men, and also the lowest paid workers, which are women. So it's the glass ceiling, sticky floor analogy that they use. One of the things that we could really do to make a difference in women's lives for the lowest earning women is to make sure that there's really a solid, real living wage.
At the Oscars in 2015, you won for Boyhood. Congratulations. You took that moment when the eyes of the world were on you to say this: it's our time to have wage equality once and for all and equal rights for women in the United States of America. You could have said anything in that moment. Why did you say that, and what path has it set you on as an activist?
Well, I think that character was really reminded me a lot of my mom and her journey. I mean, even my own mom, she was married to my dad for 30 years, and at a certain point they were talking about getting a divorce, but she already had cancer by that point. And she said, you know, if we get a divorce, within 6 months I'll be dropped from his insurance, even though I've spent this whole life with him, and I won't be able to get insurance because I'll have a pre-existing condition. So someone who's put their life into this partnership can suddenly become invisible and valueless in the world.
When you said those words, the camera panned to the audience at the Oscars, and you see Meryl Streep standing up, yelling, "Yes, yes," and Jennifer Lopez right by her side doing the same. You've said that you went backstage and you almost fainted.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it was a pretty terrifying blur, the whole thing. It was a very strange, the amount of adrenaline that goes through your body, I can't even explain it.
But did you feel like you'd released to the world, truly the world, finally what had been in your heart and on your mind?
I was never somebody that felt like I needed accolade for my own self, accolades. So why not do something good with it? Yeah. If you have an opportunity, why keep that as your own thing? I mean, certainly you've earned something for your work, but if you can help the world, why not help the world?
You brought up some of the critics that came out after your Oscar speech. Let me read you one headline I'm sure you remember. This is from the Washington Examiner. The headline was, "Female Millionaire Claims American Women Don't Have Equal Rights." What did you think when you read that?
Well, I think it's stupid. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. These children do not plop out of thin air. You know, someone has to take the time to have them. Yeah, we don't value women's contribution to society. That doesn't make it fair. There's a lot of ways to deal with it, but we've never looked outside the box, like flexible work schedules, things that work for women so they can drop their kids off, or they can pick them up later, so that they can make sure their dad's home at dinner time when they're away working. There's a lot of different things that we've never even considered. I don't know. I find it crazy making and frustrating.
The latest numbers show in this country more than 14.2% of women between 18 and 64 were living in poverty. You've talked about this from a very personal level, not growing up with a lot of money and being a single mother at the age of 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, it's a really scary thing when you go to the grocery store and you don't know if you can buy diapers, and you're eating macaroni and cheese just to get by, and you don't know if you're going to have enough nutrients in your milk because you're nursing.
That was your reality?
Yeah, that was my reality. And you have well child visits, and you have co-pays, and how are you going to do this? I mean, that's hard to figure out. And you're the breadwinner, and you better figure it out, and you have another mouth to feed. That's a lot to carry, you know?
You watched your mom go through this as well. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
It was hard. I want men to be paid fairly too. There's certainly many men that are, you know, in poverty in America and are working hard and trying to raise their kids. I just think everybody
Yeah.
should, have a fair shot at it. And it's very interesting that Iceland, which is so advanced in gender equality areas, they've now made it mandatory that every company must report and pay equal pay. That's the first country to ever make that the law.
Right. So I think many Westerners and many Americans bristle at the idea of government mandated anything.
It's funny,
And
but
do you think it's needed? I mean, we're seeing Germany, for example, put quotas in place for X amount of women on corporate boards.
we also, as America, forced Afghanistan and other countries to put quotas in their new
So
constitution.
do you think that's the answer for the United States?
Don't you think that's a little absurd?
So if you were Miss Patricia Arquette, Congresswoman, would you push for? Is it time for this country to have quotas on things like women in corporate, in top roles at corporations, on corporate boards?
Yes.
I mean, no secret, you were a big vocal supporter for Hillary Clinton. All right, so this election did not go your way. However, the administration is the Trump administration, and I'm interested, Patricia, if you were called by the president's team or his daughter Ivanka Trump, who has been very vocal on some of these issues. Would you go to the White House, meet with the president, help advise them?
Well, I actually have a friend who is in that circle, and she asked me if I would meet with them, and I said, of course I would meet with them.
Okay.
I mean, I've met with a lot of Republican leaders, and some of them, listen, I'm really grateful to some of them. Some of them came in and they have a lot on their plate. There's many, many things they're dealing with.
So what would you say then if you were sitting at a meeting with the president on these issues of equality for women?
I would ask for serious fair pay laws would be number one, because I think that makes a big difference. I would ask him to support the Equal Rights Amendment and rolling back the deadline for the 3-state solution, so that we could just ratify the last 3 states and be done with this already.
One place where I do wonder if you can see some unity, and that is for the first time in this election, we had both the Democratic nominee and the Republican nominee supporting mandated paid parental or family leave. Are you encouraged, and do you think we're going to see some bill that makes sure that new parents get paid to have time off with their new babies get through Congress?
Well, I hope so, because we're one of very few countries that doesn't offer that to people.
Almost the only, among the only ones.
I mean, that would be a great, yeah, exactly. That would be a great move forward, and I would love to see that.